It was a golden afternoon in our suburban cul-de-sac, the kind where laughter spills from backyards and the smell of grilled burgers lingers in the air. My granddaughter Lily was about to blow out the candles on her princess-themed cake, her cheeks smeared with pink frosting, when a sparkler flared too high. A ribbon caught fire, and a gust of wind tossed the flaming scrap onto the dry grass. In seconds, our perfect day turned into a nightmare. I sprinted for the garden hose, heart hammering, every instinct screaming to douse the flames before they devoured the yard. I grabbed the nozzle and squeezed nothing. Not a single drop. Panic clawed at me as I traced the hose along the fence, only to find Margaret, our HOA tyrant, standing there in her oversized sun hat, clutching hedge clippers. She smirked and said, "You were warned about that hose length." Flames were licking at the grass, and she'd just severed our only water source. The fire spread fast, chewing through the lawn and creeping toward the wooden fence. Neighbors shouted, some grabbing buckets, others dialing 911. Lily sobbed, thinking she'd ruined her birthday. My wife, Ellen, yelled that the side fence was burning. I was halfway through calling emergency services when it hit me. Margaret hadn't just made a mistake. She'd marched onto my property and sliced the hose with surgical precision, all because of some obscure HOA rule she worshipped more than common sense. The dispatcher's voice was calm but urgent. When I gave my name, she paused. "Chief Sullivan is on duty, sir. He'll be there soon." I almost laughed. My son, Mike, the fire chief, was coming. The same kid Margaret once berated for parking his fire truck too close to her prized rose bushes during a safety demo. Now, he led crews through infernos, and he was about to face the neighborhood's self-appointed queen. Margaret, meanwhile, stood in the shared green space, arms crossed, lecturing anyone within earshot about Bylaw 14B and hoses over 25 feet. I shouted, "You cut a live hose during a fire." She shrugged, calling it a safety hazard, and kept filming the chaos on her phone, probably imagining herself as the hero of her own HOA blog. The audacity was staggering. When Mike's fire truck roared in, he leapt out, barking orders. He spotted me and ran over. "Dad, you okay?" Relief flooded me, mixed with pride. I pointed to the fence, now half engulfed, and then to the severed hose. His eyes narrowed. "What happened to the line?" I tilted my head toward Margaret, still filming like she was directing a documentary. Mike's jaw tightened. "Is that Mrs. Larson?" I nodded. She said we broke hose rules. The next minutes were a blur, hoses spraying, neighbors pitching in, Mike's crew battling the blaze. They saved the houses, but the fire claimed fences, my tool shed, and half the lawn. Lily's swing set was a charred wreck. No one was hurt, but the neighborhood's spirit took a hit. Margaret didn't flinch. When Mike confronted her, asking if she'd cut the water supply, she smiled. "I enforced HOA standards." He stared, calculating the paperwork this would spawn. As the last flames died, Margaret strutted off, warning about fines for noncompliance. A kid lobbed a melted garden gnome at her SUV. Ellen sat on the porch, holding Lily, while I gripped the frayed hose like a war trophy, trying to process it all. Mike, soot-streaked, walked over. "I thought she couldn't surprise me anymore," he said. "This takes it." I wanted her held accountable, but he warned me her HOA loopholes were tight. Still, I saw a spark in his eyes. This was personal now. The next day, the neighborhood buzzed with outrage. One neighbor, Mr. Gomez, waved a photo of his scorched lemon tree, vowing to sue. Margaret, undeterred, posted a blog titled, "Hose Hazard Neutralized," claiming the fire was minor and she'd saved us from water waste. It wasn't just about a hose, Anna Maria, it was about power, safety, and one woman's obsession with control. I decided to fight back, with Mike as my ally. By noon, a thick HOA envelope arrived, stuffed with violation notices, improper equipment, non-compliant hose, unregulated emergency behavior. Ellen muttered, "She's doubling down." Margaret's newsletter spun the fire as a win for policy enforcement, complete with a photo of her posing by the blackened hedges. Neighbors stopped by, furious. The Wilsons lost a fence, the Lee's cat vanished. Margaret responded with more citations, like confetti. I called Tom, a sensible HOA board member. At the community clubhouse, he admitted Margaret ruled through intimidation, slipping new bylaws into the rulebook whenever challenged. I suspected this went deeper back to when I'd opposed her plan to build a koi pond over a fire hydrant. The inspector shut it down, and she'd targeted me ever since. The hose was her boldest move yet. That evening, an anonymous note appeared on our door. Some think rules don't apply to them. You've been warned. It screamed Margaret. Mr. Gomez put up a sign. HOA Margaret cut the hose. We could have lost everything. The neighborhood was turning, but Margaret doubled her patrols, ticketing flower pots and chalk art. Then she made her fatal mistake, scheduling a closed-door HOA meeting to sanction me. Tom tipped me off she planned to strip my gardening rights and threaten legal action. At the meeting, Margaret sat in a lavender suit, presenting a slideshow of my melted gnome as hazardous landscaping. I got 2 minutes to speak. I told the board how she cut the hose, prioritizing rules over lives. Then I slid across a screenshot from her social media. Margaret with clippers, captioned, "No illegal hoses here." The room fell silent. She sputtered, but Tom moved to postpone sanctions for an investigation. Her smug mask cracked. Outside, neighbors passed the photo like a battle flag. By morning, it was on every group chat, pinned to the clubhouse board with "She cut the hose." Margaret's damage control letter flopped. Teens set up a lemonade stand, hoses for heroes, raising funds for damaged gardens. Mike bought a cup, and the photo hit the local news, making Margaret a symbol of HOA tyranny. More stories emerged. Margaret finding wreaths, yelling at kids for scooters. Her empire of fear crumbled. Mike's investigation gained steam, pulling 911 logs, doorbell footage, and statements. Ellen found proof Margaret altered HOA rules online without approval, saving it on a flash drive. Mike got a recording of Margaret's live stream, showing her laugh as she cut the hose, saying, "It's not my job to put out fires." That quote became her undoing. At a neighborhood barbecue, Tom barred Margaret from enforcing rules pending the investigation. Mike handed her a letter from the fire commission, accusing her of obstructing emergency response. Her face paled. The next day, her HOA patrol cart sat on the curb with a "for sale" sign. Mike's public bulletin, pinned at the clubhouse, warned against hindering emergency services, subtly naming her. The neighborhood rallied, proposing new HOA leaders. Margaret tried a last stunt, a forgiveness garden gala. Only 7 showed up. She babbled about reconciliation and offered tea towels, saying, "Healing happens here." No one cared. The event flopped, and she sat defeated. The HOA held transparent elections. Tom became president, revising bylaws to prevent solo edits. A cleanup day honored Mike's crew, and a new garden sign read, "For those who watered roots, not flames." Margaret sued, alleging defamation, but the city attorney, fed up with her complaints, backed Mike's evidence. At the hearing, she rambled about hose tyranny until Mike played her video. The judge fined her, barred her from HOA systems, and warned of arrest for future interference. The neighborhood shunned her. She sat alone on her porch, a shadow of her former self. A month later, the community thrived. Mailboxes bloomed with color, wind chimes sang, and Lily's new swing set gleamed. A red rose grew by the fence Margaret hated, named Hope by Lily. Mike got promoted to district command, saying this street taught him to fight for those afraid to stand up. As we sat on the porch, Ellen smiled at the new hose, sparkling defiantly. Margaret's reign ended, not with a bang, but a fade. She sold her cart, posted a farewell about personal growth, and vanished from view. The neighborhood wasn't just rebuilt, it was reborn, stronger, united, rooted in trust. One cut hose exposed her, but it revealed us, too. What do you think about Margaret's actions and the neighborhood's response? Have you faced similar injustices or power abuses in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss what it means to stand up to tyranny and rebuild together.